So where do eggs fit into the food pyramid? I'm gonna give you all the info right now. In this video, we're gonna go over the history of the food pyramid and how it came to be MyPlate. And next we'll go over where eggs fit into the whole food pyramid. And last, we'll cover how eggs fit into the Code Red lifestyle. All right, the food pyramid. You know, I always like salivate when I see that you guys are submitting a video request like this from me where you want to talk about the food pyramid, because I'm like, okay, like a little, because I love talking about the food pyramid. I mean, you can see I'm very passionate about the food pyramid. And let's go over a few things to get everybody up to speed on the old school food pyramid. Now, I am 45 years old, and I remember specifically being at the Grangemont Elementary School and specifically learning about the food pyramid. We were all given this cartoon type, you know, it's made for kids, and it had little cartoon veggies and a little cartoon apple and little cartoon, and the government had rolled out these guidelines, and they wanted us to eat these guidelines. So how did the whole food pyramid come to be? In 1974, Sweden released the first food pyramid. But then Americans got on board with this right around 1990, 1991, and they released their own food pyramid along with dietary guidelines. Then in 2005, the food pyramid kind of got a little bit of a facelift, although I would call it a botched facelift, because the government spent $1 million redesigning the food pyramid into more of a vertical pyramid, which was incredibly confusing. Nobody could make heads or tails of it, and it was a big flop. But they switched it to My Pyramid in 2005. It was a joke. And then in 2011, under the Obama administration, they switched to MyPlate. So the original old school, I like to refer to it as the old school food pyramid, it really was built on shaky evidence and industry. Yeah, like so many things in our government, it was driven by money. And there are some very powerful organizations out there and industries out there that want to make sure they get a piece of the pie, so to speak. And they wanted to get a place on that food pyramid. And grains, the grain industry, I think at the time was probably the most powerful industry on the planet, and they got the largest piece of the pie. Grains were placed at the very bottom of the old school food pyramid, and the government suggested that we got 9 to 11 servings of grain a day. And I'm not trying to say that there was malicious intent. I'm saying that this was not built on actual science. It was built on money, which is really sad. So now the government suggests, with that large category at the very bottom of the old school food pyramid, that 60% of our diet come from grains. And this is not the same grains that was on the earth when Jesus was walking the planet. These aren't even the same grains from 100 years ago. These are refined, processed grains. They didn't care where you got your grains. You could get them from a lean cuisine, and on the outside of the lean cuisine box, it would say, this accounts for 5 servings of your healthy whole grains, and people would buy it. I mean, the marketing is brilliant when it comes to selling this stupid food pyramid. They would like, oh, how about oatmeal? Oatmeal's got a big picture of a heart that says heart healthy. Oatmeal's the last thing you want to eat if you are trying to be heart healthy. But these are very, very powerful industries that have excellent marketing experts that can convince us that this is healthy, but grains are not healthy. You can see from our stats that as soon as they introduced the food pyramid, obesity started to skyrocket, diabetes started to skyrocket, metabolic syndrome, sickness, disease, death, coronary artery disease, absolutely through the roof. And in my opinion, the food pyramid is the biggest disaster in human history. Before I jump into the next point, I want to hear from you. Do you remember the old school food pyramid? Are you like, do you remember? Comment below. I want to hear your thoughts on the food pyramid. All right, so then we get MyPlate. Now, MyPlate is an improvement on the food pyramid. The food pyramid was like 9 to 11 servings, 6 to 8 servings, 4 to 7 servings. Nobody knew what a serving size was. Nobody knew what that even meant. So MyPlate introduced a white plate in 4 quarters. You have veggies, fruits, animal protein, and grains. And then off to the side where your glass of water goes, they had a small amount of dairy. So the improvement was that they actually portioned out a plate to where you can visualize this is how much goes on my plate of each category. So MyPlate was an improvement on the very confusing food pyramid. So when you think about eggs, I can see why you'd be confused about this, because what category do eggs go in? Does it go into the dairy category? Does it go into the animal category? Does it go into the poultry category? Like, where does it go? Because if you think about the egg, you've got cholesterol, which is fat. You got protein, you have different components of the egg, and it's incredible. And I understand why people are so confused at where it goes. So the USDA refers to dairy as all fluid milk products. Well, so eggs aren't a liquid milk product. So the USDA put eggs into the category of poultry, meat, and fish, basically animal products. Now remember, we used to demonize fat. We used to demonize cholesterol. We used to think you can't eat cholesterol because you don't want your cholesterol to go up, but you have probably learned from watching many of my videos that is absolutely not the case. Cholesterol is needed to make every single hormone in the human body. So by you demonizing cholesterol like in the egg yolk, you're actually doing damage to your body. You need that. You need that egg yolk. But we were always taught to believe to avoid fat, avoid cholesterol, because we had a president back in the 50s that had a heart attack, and we thought that that was caused from too much fat in his diet. It was wrong. He was an obese chain smoker, sugar addicted. I've done other videos on that. Go look those up. So when we look at the egg, the poor egg has been left out and has been avoided in the old school food pyramid. And we were always taught to limit your egg intake. Now, back when I was bodybuilding, I competed in 3 bodybuilding competitions. The old school bodybuilding diet, and even nowadays, it's egg whites and oatmeal. And I have eaten so many egg whites in my day. Bodybuilders, they have a different way of doing things, and that's fine. I'm not going to talk about that. That's a whole different monster that I don't really even want to think about. But avoiding the egg yolk is not going to do your health any good. All it's doing is reducing calories. If you're trying to reduce calories, I guess have the egg white. Don't leave the yolk out because you are afraid of the yolk. This is a highly nutritious part of the egg. You want to have that in. Whether you have hard-boiled eggs, you have deviled eggs, you have, fried eggs, and you go to a diner and you order scrambled eggs. I'd say eat your eggs, which leads me to my last point. How do eggs fit into the Code Red lifestyle? We eat the living crap out of eggs. That's what we do. Yes, we do. Now, do you need to have them organic and non-GMO and grown with the tears of the Tibetan monks? No. Listen, on the Code Red lifestyle, we just want you eating eggs. If you like eggs, eat eggs. It would be great if we all had our own chicken farm and we all had our own eggs like my sister Carrie does. She has like 50 chickens. She gets like 24 eggs a day. But that is not the case for most of us. Most of us buy store-bought eggs. And I would love for you just to have eggs. They are so nutritious for you. They will help you improve your health. If you like them, you can have them a lot of different ways. So experiment with eggs. Definitely add them into your diet, especially if you've been avoiding them. The great thing about the 10-pound takedown is you are going to get a food list. And the food list is going to have foods to avoid, foods to eat. It is cut and dry, black and white. It's very clear, and you're going to see that eggs are on the list of foods to eat. We love eggs on Code Red, and we think that they really do a great job keeping you full. But we're gonna talk about all these things on the 10-pound takedown, because I'm gonna be with you for 30 days. You and me together, we're gonna work through this whole learning and unlearning process, because a lot of us were brainwashed to believe absolute lies, and those days are over. So I've linked it up below. Click the link to the next challenge. We have one starting soon, and I'll see you on the next video.